I am ready.
Hey, you are on.
Well, good afternoon. My name is David Porter with Porterhouse Incorporated. We operate the Shelley Adult Training Academy, and I was asked to put together what we're calling a teaser, but it's actually going to be material I think you can use. It's not going to teach you. Hopefully, it's actually going to train you. We're going to address some things that I believe most companies deal with in this business etiquette. And we're going to talk about a few points. The class itself, we have that scheduled for later on, and we'll actually have a schedule when that happens. But we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about that I think comes up in most businesses. We're going to talk about doing cell phones. We all have them, right? We're going to talk about things that we should do when it comes to texting with our cell phone. For some of the newer folks that haven't been in the industry for a while or for a long time, we're going to talk about making a first good impression. We're going to talk about the three C's. And then most people are using, at least my age, and if those that are watching, you can see, are using the business card into some effect. Now, there's lots of programs, HubSpot, or there's a bunch of different ones that will allow you to take a picture of that business card and use that to keep your contact list. And so we're going to talk about some of the things to do with those. We're going to spend about 35, 40 minutes, and then I'm going to take some questions related to this, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right. So first thing is, I'd like each of you to think of something you did last week, right, in a business realm where you had an opportunity to show that you had good manners and you were polite, you were courteous. So that's the first thing I want you to do. And then I want you to think about what else could you have done to express those same good manners or even more professional courtesy. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of moments to think about that. And those that are participating, you're certainly welcome to chime in. I'll share some of mine from last week. And when we actually do this course, this is a pre-assignment. We send it out a week or two ahead of time so that you can get it completed and send it back in to us. Okay, so as you were thinking, for me last week, like many of you, I had to contact a business follow-up, a business contact follow-up. So how I showed my good manners, I typically, as I did today, I offer whatever the appropriate greeting. On that particular call, it was good morning, right? And then the other aspect of the professional courtesy, I asked, are you available to talk? Do you have a few moments to speak with me? Now, it's implied now, right? I'm asking, do you have time to speak to me now? Because if it's 10 minutes from now or an hour from now, I'm going to be on the phone for a long time. Right? But one of the things I looked at, what else could I have done to express even more professional courtesy or good manners? It's no secret, right? We all that are on here went through COVID-19 or still dealing with COVID-19. It's certainly appropriate for how are you handling the COVID-19? It may be the opportunity that they need to be able, if it's a business contact, to realize the human aspect of it, right? So that's what I could have done better. And the thing I would tell you is, usually when we offer that greeting, most of us roll right into that elevator speech or whatever the thing we're going to say. Good morning. I'm here to talk about good morning. And what I'm going to recommend is we pause. In the industry, they used to call it, I guess it's probably not politically correct now, we'd say pregnant pause. But the point is, it's a definite pause. How long is that pause? Well, the industry experts will say, if you pause for 3 seconds, then that allows a person, if they should choose, because you may have caught them off guard. They may not be accustomed to that. So 3 seconds, just to give you an idea. I'm going to got a stopwatch here, starting now. 3 seconds. See, that's plenty of time for them to say good morning, for them to say good morning. My name is David. If you know them already, now be careful. We're going to talk about that cell phone, right? Because some of us have cell phones where we have people programmed into our contacts, right? And so I pick up the phone and I see Mindy's on the phone. Well, I see Mindy's name. It may not be Mindy, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So this is how that class started. One of the first thing is in the business etiquette world is what is etiquette, right? Now I'm old enough. There's a person, and those that are not, you can Google her. Her name is Letitia Baldridge. She was actually the social director for Madam First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. So that was a long time ago. She died at 82 back in, I believe it's 2000 something, at the age of 80 something. But Letitia Baldridge used to be the person you went to. She was the go-to person. If you had a social event, you had a business event, and you were a junior executive, you were a new CEO, you were a new salesperson. She wrote the complete guide to how to do things, how to have manners. Later on in the 90s, things start to change. And she wrote another book on how manners are to be displayed even in the 90s. Today, there's a writer, her name is Josie Roberts. She's the author of Business Etiquette, and this is a Q&A, question and answer. Um, One of the big things about etiquette when we talk about things is, as we talk, we're leading you in. When do we use that text? When should we do things in person? So they define etiquette being just really the way we approach things, and it's a convenient rules of polite behavior. If you want to have a keyword, trick, or phrase, that's what you use in our industry. It's a convenient way, and it could even be conventional rules for polite behavior. That's what etiquette is. So when we look at etiquette, well, how does it help you in your business? Why are we talking about this as business skill? Well, first of all, branding is one of the things we all want to do. We want them to see our brand, right? The business cards help with it. Everything we do reflects on our company and our product. So branding comes away from a business etiquette. It may be they come to know every time I see David Porter, he's at least going to speak to me. He's going to give me a chance to speak, and he's going to ask me about me, right? Because that's an important person to all of us is me. Well, also too is when we talk about etiquette, it shows that we got respect and consideration for them. For our employees, we have a staff of about 10 to 15. I can't remember what it is now. I'm sure it's somewhere in there. But with our employees, each morning, they know the first thing I'm going to do when I come in the building is I'm going to go around to each of them. Good morning. How are you doing? How's your day? How's your family? And it's a sincere, not as I'm walking by, I stop. Again, that at least 3 second pause so they have a chance to respond. So also too, it builds morale and confidence in, he really cares about me. The other thing is that team, that word synergy, right? That used to be the buzzword in the 90s. Everything was synergenic. We all got to work together for the common good. But one of the things you realize too is in a business situation, all of us go through 4 stages of teamwork and teaming. The fourth stage, and the first one is when we get together, everybody's got to jostle to figure out where's my place in this? What am I role? What am I going to do? I'm the fill out your title, right? Your title is so big, you can't put it on a business card. You got to get the front and the back, and then you borrow some space from one of your colleagues because you got to have this long phrase, right? So we're storming, right? There's some jostling we're trying to figure out. Well, in the midst of storming, we start to form as a team. We kind of fall in a role. Okay, David's good at that. We're gonna let him do this. And you come to get this, and maybe not even direction from the particular owner or the company president or whatever the management is. But after you storm a little bit, you start to form and figure out where your roles are. And then over a period of time, some usually 2 to 3 months, we start to normalize. Hey, okay, I'm David, I'm the person that takes care of this. And I adapted that role that maybe I didn't have at first. So we start storming. Now we form together and we figure out what we're going to do. And we start to normalize. And then we start to perform as a team. And then we form as a team that the company does well. So those are 4 of the functions that we get from the teamwork. So as we look at the business etiquette, one of the reasons for our business etiquette is we've all heard the term networking, right? We all have networking, but that first meeting can be very important to all of us, right? when you introduce yourself during that first meeting, there are three C's that I want you to remember: confidence, competence, and credibility. I want you to be natural. I want you to be relaxed. I want you to maintain some eye contact. That's confidence. I want you to be competence. I want you to have competence. I want you to be knowledgeable of your craft or your particular product. I want you to answer the question in a clear, professional manner. No double talk, no double speak. If you don't know, you say, I don't know, but I will follow up and find out, right? And make sure you do. Ask relevant questions. And then the last one is credibility. Arrive on time, right? We all have cell phones. They usually have an alarm feature on them. They'll beep and buzz at you at all kinds of time. Use that, right? And then you want to look at the dress code. When I go and talk to people out in the job, in the construction sites, I don't wear my three-piece suit. I go out there. I typically have on my shirt here or a polo shirt and something appropriate for the PPEs of that region, right? And then if I tell them I'm going to be there at a certain time, or as we just said, if I tell you I don't know and I'm going to follow up, please follow up. So the three C's: confidence, competence, and credibility. One of the things when we meet new people, we're nervous. That's just normal. One of the ways you get rid of some of that nervous, we want you to be informed, right? We want you to practice what you're going to say, practice how you're going to be. One of the other things is, by the way, if there's football fans out there, if any of you are Aaron Rodgers fan, Green Bay, he said, relax. I'm going to say the same thing, relax, right? Now, that's easily said than done, right? When we talk about relaxing, there could be different methods. Many of us, since we do have those cell phones, there's many, there's Spotify, there's a whole bunch of different ones that you can download music and pick the music that helps you feel upbeat. You're ready to go. If it's going to be a tough meeting, maybe we had a case just today I can tell you about where we had a project that was supposed to be done in September, some through our fault, but mostly customers' fault, but still didn't get done till March. That's 6 months. That's a long time, right? So I needed some music to pump me up, but I didn't want to make excuses. That's not the same thing. So you deal with nervousness, being prepared. If you have triggers, if they ask me about money, well, I'm a consultant. We get paid. You get paid. As employees, we have to pay them. If we have triggers, we try to come up with a strategy to help us so that that trigger doesn't take us off path, right? It might be, well, they say, what is your fee? Well, our typical fee, we usually provide a proposal and we send that to you later. Maybe you heard some things you want to think about before the number that's already in your head. You got a number, right? But be prepared. The other thing is you got to believe in what you offer, right? It's got to be a credible product. It's got to be something worth buying. It's got to be a service worth having. And you know that. Hopefully you're using those techniques. So minimizes that nervousness. Let's talk about that old texting thing, because I want to make sure you get that. Now, you can go online and do a search, and there's a number of top 10, top 15, depends on what you are, but most of them are going to tell you the same thing. So if I go online, I do my data mining, right? Go online and I look up, I see on the screen, I have Cammie Evans with me, and I don't know Cammie. So I look Cammie's name up. She's got a cell phone. Well, let me hit her up and say, hey, I saw you were in my session. Let's do business. Not appropriate. Text message. The first rule of texting is supposed to be establish business relationship. That way that person knows your number, know you're going to text them, and make sure you do have it established. Not, I met you at a chamber luncheon. And I don't think that's quite established. Okay. Look at the timing. When are you sending this? Don't send it at, you got insomnia, 11:30 at night. You go, man, I've been up all day. Hey, let me send a text over there. I see I have Madison on the screen. Let me send Madison a text. We got to establish a business relationship, but she's probably not expecting a text from me at 11:30 at night related to business, right? So that goes with also know when to make that phone call. If you're texting and there's a lot of text going back, I usually say 3. If we text each other 3 times and we're not to a resolution, pick up the telephone, stop texting, and call that person. That's why it lends itself to you're doing this during business hour. It would be highly inappropriate unless we have a special business relation for me to call you at 11:30 at night with a business matter. Okay? The other thing on the text, right? It's not my favorite, and I'm not pointing fingers, but if the finger's pointing, it might be at me or you, but I don't do this. And I'm going to recommend you don't. Keep it brief. That's what text messages were intended. As we found out, if you go back when the old days of beepers, when we had pagers, people would send a 911. Then they got cute with, well, 411, I need some information. And then it's like, okay, 811, I don't know what that is. They forgot, they pushed the wrong key, right? But keep it brief, right? You don't want to seem like you're rambling with a long, lengthy text message. Pick up the phone instead. The other thing is be careful with your abbreviations. So I want each of you, so if I get a chance to see any of you in the future, I want you to tell me what the abbreviation, W as in whiskey, W, T as in tango, F as in foxtrot. That's an abbreviation people use. Well, there's a very unnice one that people would say if you watch the movies, right? And my mom, back in the era we grew up, she'd be washing your mouth out with soap. But WTF is used in the number industry for what's this for? What's this for? For those that are young and hipsters like me, my gray hair, I kind of tint it just so you think I might be older and wiser. But there's a singer, bebop, hip hop rappers, Missy Elliott. She has a song, WTF, where they're from. Where they're from is the song, WTF. So be careful with those abbreviations. Use only a very few of them and only the ones that you and this person that you got a business relationship are familiar with, right? Make sure tone, right? It used to be we would do cap locks because I had one letter I needed capital and we leave cap locks on. So over the last few years, either email or text is come to be, if you got caps on, you're screaming at me. And he's like, why are you screaming at me? We're supposed to be business associates or business relationship. Don't leave your cap locks on. Even if you don't mean it, other people perceive that's what you're saying. The other thing is don't get crazy with emojis, right? Emojis are great. Like, oh man, I got one with Santa Claus smoking a cigar and he's playing the saxophone at the same time. Focus on the business aspect of what the emoji is. There may be one for a sunny day, or it may be a smile, a chuckle, one or two at the most. You're not trying to get this person to laugh. You're trying to deal business with them. Make sure that good old thing called autocorrect. Autocorrect. That robot will go in there and change words for you. You go, what the heck? Now, one of the things we have done, somebody's trying to call me here. Pause. Let me make sure it's not my wife. And by the way, I'll just tell you, if my wife was calling, I would answer the phone. I would beg your apologies, but I would answer the phone. She's been my wife, hang on a second here, she's been my wife for 43 years, so I want it to be 44, so I'm going to answer that phone. It wasn't her. It was somebody trying to offer me an opportunity to extend my auto insurance, my auto warranty. I'm not sure they even know I had a car. But back to where we were. Check before you send it. Also, too, never, and I use never, I think this is the first time I've said it while we've been talking, never text bad news. We compliment in public. If it's good news, put it all out there. Those guys are great. They're the best company I've ever done. This is the best customer service I've ever seen. If you got bad news, it should be in person. It really shouldn't even be an email. If it's possible, a phone call maybe because of distance, but not a text, not an email. Convey to the individual, we conducted business with you and I'm not happy with the service. And you try to plan what you're going to say too. By the way, if you should have to send bad news by a text and subsequent email, make sure you follow other rules. Abbreviation, because they could be misconstrued. That WTF could get the lights going. They would not be happy with you, right? Don't put caps on, right? Don't get crazy with emojis, right? Showing the person being weird. The other thing is too, one of the do's and don't. So don't send bad news via text. Another do's and don't change the time of a venue or a meeting via text. They may not see it. You changed the time to an earlier time, a late time, and you're wondering, they stood me up. Don't do it because just so this morning, my phone for some reason, and I don't have the iPhone. I think somebody had an iPhone. I call them the iHeadaches, so it probably tells you I have a droid. But my droid has been acting up today. It'll ring for a second and goes off. So the problem is they may never have seen it. They may have phone trouble. Right? Always pay attention to timing too. As we say, limit those texts to work hours. And then don't hesitate if it looks like the text is not going in a route. Pick up the phone. Right? Try to keep it brief. You want to reply promptly because many times the person's sitting there waiting. Now, here's something I do that many people don't do. Sign your messages. The issue we run into, we had to do a business etiquette and business ethics class for one of the local companies here. The company's chief executive officer left the door open to the office, left the computer up on the screen. Someone went into his office and sent a really nasty email to the chief executive officer. Well, the chief executive officer wasn't too happy with that, right? So make sure one, be mindful of your phone and who you allow to use your phone and what they're doing if you're letting them do that, right? Sign your message is the point. I sign my messages. Typically, you're going to see David. And if you know me, of course, remember the first rule is don't send a text if we don't have a business relationship. Like David who, right? The other thing with texting, don't get in the habit of, here I am right here. You see me on the screen, but you don't see my hands, right? You don't know where I'm down here texting away, boy. I'm getting the latest update on what's happening with the royal family. I'm looking to see what I'm going to do or what people are going to do with their stimulus check. No, don't do that because no matter how good we are, and then COVID times, we think we can multitask so we get all these things in our lives happening. But none of us would have picked this, by the way, because we're, at least I speak for me, we're pretty tired of it. But the point is, I want you to put that cell phone away when we're talking about a business environment. If there's a thing, my wife knows my schedule for the day. So if I'm getting a text or a call from her, it would be an emergency. If I know it's something going on, I'll try to notify the folks before. And one of the classes I was teaching, one of my students, I usually ask them, what do they expect to get out of class and how things go? Well, he said, the class is going great. And so there are things that you might have been doing if you weren't doing this. He said, well, my wife's in the hospital having a baby. Like, oh, why are you in class? He goes, well, this is our ninth child, so she knows what to do. Not a good idea. I would not recommend to respond like that. The other thing is, if you're going to have pictures, folks, check the picture that you're going to send before you send it. Because once it's out there, it's in the world, right? You can't pull it back. You can't put Pandora back in the box, right? So those are some do's and don'ts associated with that cell phone and texting. One of the other things I want to talk a little bit about is the business card, right? So first thing is have them if you want, if you choose. Now early on in the cell phone days, there was a term NFC, right? The near field communication, they were close communication. The two, it was neat, right? We touched our cell phone. Boy, we were ready for Star Trek, right? Star Trek, Star Wars, one of those, Mandalorian, one of those was going to happen, right? We touched that phone. We were just so cool, right? Well, if you Choose to use your phone as your business card. Never be without your business cards. Okay? When we look at our business card, we don't want our business card to be more than what we are, right? Present the card, especially if somebody presents one to you, then you present. Or it's certainly if you've had a good conversation with the individual, even if you haven't, you say, well, this didn't go the way I want, but here's my number. If you would, call me and let us try it again. Right? But use that business card to your benefit. When you get a business card to say, make sure you look at it. Some people, they used to be when the early days of credit card, I could use credit card. People we were taught to say, ask for my ID instead of putting my name in there. Right? And the cashier didn't look at it because she just ran that baby through. She said, if it clears, buddy, that's your item. Attention to detail with the business card, right? If they give you a business card, read it because they may have a message for you there that's pretty significant for you. Okay? When it comes to business card, if you're trying to use it to help you remember people's name, the best way is just repeat it, right? You got to write it, you see it, write it, and hear it, you have a lot better chance of remembering, right? So as we talk about business card and meeting people, sometimes you come to a sticky situation, right? If you make a faux pas, you make a mistake, what do we do in a business situation? You go, oh, I got a call. I got to go take that call, right? And then you duck out of the room. No, you apologize. And you apologize right away. I am very sorry. That was not my intent. What happens if the person doesn't accept your apology? You say, I'm sorry you're not. And that particular meeting or whatever situation is probably ended, but follow it up. And go, again, I want to offer my apologies. It was not my intent. And they accept it or they don't. Things happen, but you want to do your part, right? If they don't accept it, that's not your issue, right? We want you to think Dwight Eisenhower, which was the president of ours, said plans are nothing. Planning is everything, right? You can have all the plans in the world, but if you don't do planning, you're probably not going to succeed when it comes to items that we have. One of the other things in our training classes, one of the things we always leave you with is they're called quick reference sheets. And I didn't go through a lot of the slides. You're going to find out I'm not a death by PowerPoint kind of person. We'll have them. You'll have them in the classes. You can read them as well as I can. They're pretty straightforward. If you should have a question, we would give you. I don't know if the people on now, I see one microphone is muted, but if you have a question, even though we're recording this, I'll stop and pause and give you a chance to ask a question. And then I'll talk about these quick reference sheets and then I guess we would be done. So any question that I can ask you about business etiquette right now? Because there's a whole 12 modules in this lesson. I only talked about a couple of the two. Any questions?
I've got a comment for you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so about the texting, I just think that's really good information because even though we all think that we're great multitaskers and we've sent out a million texts, it's really easy to, maybe send the wrong text to a wrong person, or maybe, I don't know, say something that you shouldn't and then send it off, because that's happened multiple times in our business. And they think that they're sending it to other people, but they're actually sending it to the homeowners, and it's a problem. So
yeah, one of the other things, thanks you, Cooper. One of the other things that happens too is look, if it's a text, if it's a group text, and you respond to everybody gets that information, you may not want that to occur, right? Definitely look, take the time. You take the time, and I know we get as people will get proficient in it, we're not even looking at the keyboard. Look at it before you hit that send, because once it's gone, it can be some damage that's really hard to get. And that's the thing about multitasking, it's multiple tasks. A task is defined as something that has a definite beginning, a definite end, and it usually requires 2 steps. That's why we know I've started this task. I'm doing this item. I'm doing this item. If I'm cooking, I may take out my recipe first. I choose all the ingredients. I choose the pan. I mix the ingredients. Each of those are steps, right? At least 2, so we can know this. So if I'm multitasking, it's like, which of those are happening now? And it's hard to focus on that. And in COVID times, if it hadn't taught us anything, it's a challenge to multitask. I realize my youngest son is 39 and my oldest son is 41. So I don't have kids at home and my grandkids are with them, thank God. But I know the additional pressures that put on folks, because I teach classes a lot of times and the folks are home and the stress of, they're trying to do what they need to do their job in these difficult times. As an instructor, I'm going to usually give them opportunity to say, look, if your dog needs to go out, he needs to go out. Take the dog out, because if not, you're going to have a mess to clean up, right? If the baby needs to be attended to, go tend to the baby. And I don't care how old the baby is. The baby might be a he, and he's 35. Go take care of your baby, right? And then come back. And if we miss something, I'll refer to it. But I certainly appreciate it. Other questions or comments that you have? Don't be bashful about it. What you're going to find in my classes, in my workshops, you're an adult. I want you to realize that. That's kind of why we call ourselves Shelley Adult Training, but we work a lot with Shelley High School. So we have folks that are not 18 years old here. But the thing is, I want you to enjoy your time when you're in a workshop with me, but I want it to be a learning environment. So when you come to a particular workshop, you certainly can contact me beforehand, but you can contact me or while we're in the class, let me know a note or whatever. We want to address you. I'm going to talk about some standard industry thing, but if you got a particular situation, I'll give you my best. I've actually been literally a field hand in the fields in Georgia, and I actually been an executive. Of course, I'm the president of our company, and we've been around for 25 years. I've been in the industry for 40 years, and I've been in a lot of different settings and situations. And I'll just share what I've seen because, I talked about Letitia Baldridge. Her book came out. The Kennedys were in office in 60. And of course, President Kennedy was assassinated. But those things are still true. Politeness is still politeness. Good nature and good manners are still good manners. Yeah, we're on the go. We got lots of things to do. And with my cell phone, man, I got all kinds of things I need to do, David. I don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, you may not have business, because there are people, I think most folks, even though they may not think about it, they appreciate good manners, and good manners are a thing to have. Again, I'll ask if there's a question, and I'll talk about this reference card I have and what those reference cards do. There some things we covered during the class and they may not even be the things you think is important, but again, based off of input, we go over those to kind of remind you, if you paid attention during the time we were here, here's what you should have got. But if you didn't get it, I'm going to give it to you anyway. You take it away with you. Okay. I'll give another one of our 3-second pause to see if there's any questions.
Paul, I had a comment.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead, Jake.
So first off, glad to meet you. I've seen you at meetings, but I haven't ever done there. So I'm glad to maybe have that light introduction so we can practice this in person here soon. But your Shelley pride got to me. I'm a Shelley Russell, so I felt like I had to get on there and talk.
You bet.
So anyway, I just thought it was really interesting. Oh, sorry, you're David.
Yes,
I apologize.
That's
David.
Right.
I saw Paul on your name. See, like there's my business
etiquette
already.
Paul was the one that signed on. He was in here, but he left. Paul attends a lot of the chamber meetings for us now, but I do come down and so go right ahead though.
Well, so I already illustrated one of your points of context and using the name wrong. So look at that. Maybe that was a trick.
It
illustrate your
wasn't, but
point, but
you can see how easily it can be done, especially
yeah,
in this era where we're doing a lot of these meetings. And I believe I literally this morning from 9 o'clock on to about 2 o'clock, I'm in these sessions. Seems like we do more of these than if we'd have been able to walk or go around and see them. We don't have to do them, but we're just where at one point we were doing a focus, and like you say, it depends on if he was using his phone or you were using somebody that's using your phone, it's going to show up Jake. Oh, hey,
yeah,
Jake.
yeah.
No, I said, good afternoon. My name is David Porter. And they're like, well, why does his name say Paul? Well, I would have told you at some point, I asked him. Well, that's my name when I get in trouble. If I get stopped by the cops, I go, what's your name? Oh, my name is Paul. And I, make sure I give them a hard time. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Jake. Sorry.
No, you're all right. You're all right. I just wanted to illustrate your points better. So I guess you're welcome. But I just really was intrigued. I think your teaser is accurate. Just your range of knowledge is really more of a comment than a question. I thought you'd appreciate it. Just to see, the change from pagers. Right. Sadly, I wasn't around during that time, but to see, this communication change from, all these businessmen on Wall Street running around with their pagers to now what it is today, the transition that you've seen through business,
right,
I think is very crucial, and I'm intrigued by it. So I just appreciate your time and your experience, and I guess being able to make all these connections and adapt and be progressive through all of that. So I just really thought it was quite impressive and intriguing. So
you bet. Well, I certainly appreciate it. One of the things I'll pass on to you, when we had pagers, because it was typically just the numerical, right? So 43770, try that on a phone or on a display and near it, hello, right? That was when your wife was using your company text pager that looked like, who's 43770? I don't know. I keep getting it. Today I would say it's somebody trying to sell me health insurance or an auto warranty. So they got creative, but I will tell you from the business side of it, it was more stressful. And we look forward to the day when we were going to be able to see the person we're talking to. And now what do? We go back and text. We're going backwards in a sense. We've evolved to a point where we can see each other and talk, and we can make antics, and we can do all things and go, wow, that was a great show. You did a great job. As opposed to, thanks, you get a THX. What is that? Thanks. Oh, yeah, of course it is. I find myself a lot of times having to go online to look up text because somebody sent me a text and I go, and when I get to figure out who it is, I call them and say, so I realize there's a few more keystrokes to put THANKS. They'll say, well, David, I don't know how to spell. And guess how you're going to learn? Not by using abbreviations, right? So certainly points of the nature. I enjoy what I do. Hopefully you can see that. I enjoy the setting to get to meet a lot of people. One of the things in our program, first thing you're going to see when you show up, you're going to see on a big board, respect. That's all I ask is you respect me. I'm going to respect you, respect everybody else in the classroom. When we talk about matters of confidentiality, we talk about things that are certainly personal because we're talking about us, maybe your business, our business. So I'm going to tell all the folks, if you can't maintain confidentiality, there's the door. Yeah, I lose that business for that. Maybe I'm not that abrupt. Depends on how they are, right? But we want them. The other thing is, as you mentioned, practice. You got a chance to practice, right? And the other thing is, Jake, what you did too, you demonstrated, you go, I'm sorry. You did it right away. You didn't go, well, wait a minute. I just called him Paul. I wonder if I ought to apologize. I wonder if he doesn't like being called Paul. Or maybe he's got right away, right? As soon as you realize you do, and that's what you should do in a business setting always. We all have those situations. So I appreciate it. Any other comments? I got this sheet to go. I'm not rushing you off. I just want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. When you come to my class or workshop, if we say it's a 4-hour class, I'm usually going to stop at 3 hours and 30 minutes for sure. Because the last 30 minutes, I want us to coast down to make sure you got what you needed. got what you intended out of there, especially if it was within the scope of the class. But I don't want to be at 4 o'clock and you're looking at your watch, right? You look, or your cell phone, right? You're looking at your watch. He said he'd be done at 4 o'clock. I promise you, I'm going to stop at 4. If I should go beyond the 3:30 and we're at 4:10, I'm going to stop and say, okay, folks, the class was scheduled to go 4 hours. Here's what was left in there, whatever the amount. Let's say it's 15 minutes. I said 15 minutes is going to push you 5 minutes over the hour. You got a couple options. If you should need to leave, and a lot of times, see, I'm dealing with a site because the people are catching buses, right? That's a long walk, right? Or to have your wife or husband have to come pick you up out there, and then you got to walk to a gate, so that's a walk. So I'll say, you're certainly welcome to leave. I'll get back with you, and I'll give you the materials you got. And then if there's an exam, we do that. Or if you should choose and you want us to finish, I'll go ahead and finish. So when we're done, we're done. But the option is yours. I want it to be a case because what I represented at front, I want it to be what you actually receive. So like you say, follow through, do what you say, and make sure you're committed. So if you should have a question or comment, raise your hand, get my attention, and I'll be able to answer it for it. But the business etiquette, it's a card stock, so it's pretty sturdy. And it goes through, like in this one, it talks about the 3 C's. If you remember, it was confidence, it was competence, it was credibility, and it's got all those things listed. Minimizing nervousness. It talks about the biggest thing for nervousness, a lot of time for many of us, is we're not informed. The boss says, hey, go out and sell that thing, man. We need to sell 5,000 of them. What is it? It doesn't matter. You can sell anything. Just go do it, right? And you're going, customer goes, how does it work? Well, let's see. Hang on. You want to run? We know now, right? Somebody runs off, they're Googling the answer, right? Or at least you think they are anyway, or they got to call somebody, right? So be informed. That's really the thing that will help you get rid of your nervousness. Practice, practice, practice. When we teach instructors, we teach instructor training. One of the things we ask them to do is if they're not a common speaker, that means do it more than once or twice every month or two. In my case, I typically have a class 2 to 3 days a week. And if you don't do that level of practice, then get in front of the mirror. Use that cell phone. I'm pretty sure it's got a voice recorder on there somewhere. And you could even reverse the camera for pretend like you're taking a selfie, right? And we're well versed in taking those selfies. Use that and practice. Set it there and read it. Hear what you sound to other people. Hear what you sound like. Is your voice too low? Is your voice too high? Is it just right? You may think you hear what you're saying, but listen to it from the standpoint somebody else is. Another aspect is too, we're talking about the nervousness. If you show up late, that's a trigger. You're late and now you got to start dancing, right? You put on your dancing shoes, da, 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 and the other person's going, still late. You may be a great dancer, but you're still late, right? And that's all some people can focus on. So don't give them that opportunity. So the card stock for the reference, I highly recommend people use them. We are updating those up time. One of the things I'll mention from the commercial standpoint is the classes that we have scheduled now are the ones off the shelf. But if you're planning on attending, and we'll send the chamber a 3-pager, we call it. It'll say, here's what we plan on covering. Here's the 12 modules. If you have a particular thing that you want, email me and say, I may still cover the main one because the rest of the folks are saying they want it, but if you have a certain thing, we'll address it. If it's something that's better addressed with a phone call or visit from me, there's no extra for that, because one of the things in most of the classes, we try to set goals. Goals for you, goals for me as well. And don't be surprised if you set a goal in one of my workshops and you've invited me to your place of business. I show up and go, how you doing on that time management? Well, we remember 2 weeks ago. And by the way, if I'm invited, I'll come back in 2 more weeks. So you get the idea behind the practice, but accountability, I'm just trying to help you be accountable. It's not to get on your nerves, because I'm going to ask, am I getting on your nerves? It's not helping. I'll stop. But if it helps, I'll be glad. And then I can see some of the things that are taking your time. I'll give you one other thing, then I'll my clock about a quarter till. I mentioned a big time waster for us, or at least for me, is emails, right? Not just spam mail. I'm talking from people that are in your contact list. So here's one of David rule with email. That was not on the list, but I usually try to give a juicy gem, we call it, right? Of course, nowadays you say juicy, folks get all weird on you, but a juicy gem. This is something that a gem is, right, a rock that's got some value that you may not have necessarily had before and you went searching for. Well, here's your juicy gem is when it comes to email for me, when you go open up your inbox and you see emails, scan through it. Some of them, right off the bat, they got through your spam filter. Delete them. Delete them. Look at the subject matter. By the way, if you send me an email, no subject matter, it's deleted. Right? Now, if I establish a business relationship with you and I realize you hadn't figured that out yet, I'm going to call you and say, dude, do that. Quit sending me emails with no subject. I use that as a screening mechanism. But you go through and screen them. So if they don't have subject, you look at the email, read it. If it's something you can do right away, do it. If not, save it for later, right? Because I get, no kidding, probably hundreds, if not like most of you, a day. Because, if I go to a website and look at safety equipment, oh, yeah, they're ready to buy safety equipment. I was just looking because it looked bright colors. I was attracted to bright colors. Those of you that are old enough to remember in the hotels, they used to have the USA Todays in the hotels. Now it's digital. But the reason why it was so popular, because they had 4 bright colors. That's what they found. That's how it beat the New York Times, the San Francisco Post, the Examiner. All the other major newspapers were black and white. USA Today went with colors, and people just were attracted to it. So emails can be a time waster. It's a highly effective tool, but find a way where it doesn't drag down a lot of your time. The other thing is, I would tell you, set amount of time you're going to look at email. And you know what volume you have, but I can't imagine where it's 4 hours, it's 5 hours, right? It's, for me, minutes, 30 minutes in the morning. Now, I didn't tell you, but I guess another juicy gem, sometimes you may have to start a particular day early when you have a heavy schedule. Today's date, I started today in the office here at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's like 0400 for those that know European time. That's early. But I have another one of our employees. He was here as well. So there's some of us that realize start early because you got a busy day. All right. So now I'm done with what I need to say. I can address questions until you tell me that you're done and there's no other questions. What can I answer to address? And it doesn't have to be this subject.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop on, but I just want to say thank you for taking your time today to do this. I appreciate what you do, and you are very knowledgeable, and I appreciate that and sharing that with us. Since we are recording this and putting this out for the rest of our members to see, I just want to make it clear that people know that you are willing to come to their businesses to offer any trainings. You have a place in Shelley that people can come to the training there, that you're super flexible to work with them. And this is just a beginning class, the business etiquette, and you offer tons. We probably don't even have time to list all of them because you have.
No, we probably don't. It's lots.
You have a lot. So yeah. So if anyone's listening and those listening to the recording later, if there's something that you want specific for your business, please reach out to Dave and Paul, because there's probably something that they could help you with in training. And I know a lot of us have been in business for a long time, and so it's a good refresher, but there's a whole new generation coming up that this business etiquette is really good for them, because they're new to the business world and they need to know these things. So if you're a business owner and want your employees to do a training like this to help you in your business, please reach out to them. They'd love to help you. And we're working a deal with chamber members that you get a little bit of a discount on that. So we appreciate them for offering that.
You got no problem with that at all. Another thing is to realize too that we do customized training. Even we actually have a whole technical side that we could do. If your business is having some issue with the production, your production is dropped off, we do analysis, we do training analysis. We'll come in and give you our 50 cents on it. Here's what we think. Here's what we've seen and stuff. It's almost a case, and maybe I won't spoil it for, but I'll tease you with. I'll tell you the story about Henry Ford. How this one guy came in, spent less than 5 seconds, and earned enough money to buy a Model T. So that'd be like buying a Lexus today, right? In 5 minutes, earning enough money to buy a Lexus. That's pretty special. I'll share that story later at another time. But I enjoyed it. A thing I would mention to you too, call me. You won't get a hard sell. I'll say, here's what we do. But the other thing I offer to you, we have classes here typically from 7 in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. So we try to have our classes, the professional developments typically are during the day, but we have done them at night as well. One of the common ones that was we've seen a lot of is conflict resolution. Remember I was talking about the teamwork and team building? They go through those 4 stages, right? So they start out storming and they never get past the storming, right? We're jostling for position, right? Somewhere you're supposed to get from storming.
Did I ask you that?
Form. Yeah, so you bet. Thought we had a question going.
All right, Cooper, if you have something, go ahead and unmute. I just muted you because I wasn't sure if you were talking to us or not. Go
ahead, Cooper.
Son of a, sorry about that. I guess I got, a couple questions.
Sure.
What are your rates to come to a business and, offer a class? Do you guys do it by the hour or just by the session, or?
No, well, typically what we do, typical 4-hour session is about anywhere from 50 to 75. Some of them, and the difference between 50 and 75 is the number of actual scenarios that we'll include in them. And then a whole day is typically 50 times 2, $100, or a couple of them, like team building, we actually have a team building exercise that takes quite a while. That's 125. So that kind of gives you an idea. But it's a flat rate. If you do more, if you're a chamber, we're offering a discount. I think Paul said somewhere in the neighborhood of 15%. But if you have 10 people, even if you weren't a chamber, we usually discount after 10. And normally we require a minimum of 4. If you have a company that's you and you want to still do a class, we'll put you in the list and say, hey, company ABC is doing a class and they said it's open. Open meaning they're receptive to having other folks that are not associated with their company do it. And we would call you and set you up. And if it was something based on our conversation you just had to have, and it's only one of you, we've done one-on-one classes. Obviously that's not in the model, but we want to see you succeed as well. So don't hesitate to ask that.
Okay. Yeah, no, that answers my question. So thank you.
You bet. Thought you had 2 questions. That was only 1.
Well, I do have another question, but I'm afraid to ask it, so I'm just going to pass.
Don't be afraid. Go right ahead.
Well, okay, I'll ask it, but only because you're a good teacher. So I was just wondering, kind of with the social justice and everything going on, are you guys going to be putting together a kind of a class or a teaching to kind of, I guess, for like a workplace implementation or workplace etiquette as far as all that goes?
And what we've done is we've added stuff to our workplace etiquette. And so there's an etiquette and there's ethics, right? The right and wrong by law.
Yeah.
And so etiquette is, as we say, it's just a way of how to have good, polite behavior. PC, I don't think in my talking, like I said, I've been doing it for a while. I typically don't go home and practice. And this is a PC word, don't say that. It's not a part of what I do as a normal factor. What I would tell you that on those, call me and let's talk and see what you want particularly, because I may have something in the book and go, that addresses that. And,
Okay.
and what we would do is specific to your company and your situation, we'll actually do a scenario. Now, I don't have a problem with, we have a customer we've actually had just recently. Plant manager took a leadership academy with his staff, his managers and his supervisors. And that lasted, I think it was 6 months. They just signed on for a 2-year program with us. But there were times I told them day one, I'm going to ask you to leave because confidentiality, they're going to want to say some things. I'm not going to let them badmouth you. That's not the intent. But I want them to openly talk so we can address what it is. So yeah, contact me offline and we'll talk about the specific of what you want to address. And I'll tell you what I think we have. Yeah, if it's typically, if it's not a full hour, there's no kind of customizing charge. It'll be those numbers I told you. If it goes more than 4, then you got to at least buy me lunch or something,
I can do that.
All right.
So, all right. Yeah, that's everything.
Very good. Thank you, Cooper. Anybody else?
We're coming up
Thought
on
I
just
heard
about
somebody.
1 o'clock. So if anyone has anything, speak now. Got anyone? Jason, you're unmuted. Did you have something? Maybe not. He's the only one that I see unmuted, but he's not talking. So, okay. Well, that puts us right about at our hour mark. So we'll go ahead and finish up here. Again, I appreciate all your time and for doing this, and we'll get it out. There's just a few on this, but we'll send it out to the rest of our members, and hopefully, just so everyone knows, here in about 2 weeks, we'll schedule the full class for this one, this business etiquette, that will be at their facility in Shelley. So we'll send out that information if your business or anyone wants to attend that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Enjoy.
Okay.
All right,
Have a
be
great
well.
day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.